I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of peanuts. And when I get them as a gift, I'm super stoked. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fervent 4. Did you know that only 4% of businesses ever cross the annual $1 million revenue mark? Hello, I'm Zack Miller, author of Anomaly. With me today, I have my co-host Tim Ryan, lead man at StartWheel.org. Thank you so much for joining us. The Fervent 4 is a weekly show every Thursday at 11 a.m. dedicated to sharing insights into growing a world-class business, no matter the climate. Marshall Rabil leads the marketing and sales side at Hubbard Peanut Company. So what's it like running a family business, getting your product in front of people when you live in the country, and a ton more? Next on the Fervent 4. Marshall, Tim, hello.
Howdy.
What's happening?
Good to see you guys.
So always a pleasure. So, I mean, is that offensive to say that you guys are in the country? Is that like
wrong? No, we're certainly in the country. I mean, we're in Franklin and Sedley. Southampton County is definitely country.
Yeah. So
outside investors call Norfolk the country.
Do they really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It is the smallest city in Virginia. I don't know that that's true. That's probably not true. What got you into sales and marketing just in general? Was it just something that you had to overtake, or was that something that interested you growing up?
Well, we never really had a sales and marketing person at Hubbard Peanut Company. We've had account managers. It was kind of a role that was needed. And we're still a very slim team of about one person dedicated to it. And there's obviously some people that I work with with Google AdWords and artwork. We have but for the most part, our internal sales and marketing team is pretty slim. So we
just
needed
you, or like you plus one other person?
It's me. My mother was doing it prior to me, but for the most part, I'm the one cold calling on folks, meeting with customers, creating partnerships, collaborations from a marketing perspective. That's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah.
How do you learn that when that isn't your thing, I guess, right? 'Cause I mean, there's people who go to school or at least build themselves up, the quote unquote corporate ladder to get to that position. You kind of just realized it was a thing, had to jump into it. How do you recognize whether or not you're doing, I guess, a good job or not?
I'm not. No, it's interesting. I'm a consumer as well, so I like to study. I read a lot, and things are always changing. I graduated from college in 2004. There wasn't really social media then, so much has changed. Like I think
you had a MySpace page then.
No, I did not, and I didn't have a Facebook page until I had to really, I was never that interested in that piece of it, but it's an ever changing field. But as far as the sales side of it goes, I think I've got a product that I relate to really well, and I can bring aspects of my interest into our business that makes it really easy to do. Whether it's it's a food, right? It's a healthy food. It's a sustainable food. So from an environmental standpoint, there's that piece of it. I like to run and kayak and bike and do those things outdoors, and it's a great energy food. There's a lot of pieces to it. I like to go out to eat nice foods, and the chefs will use our product, and so we can collaborate on that level. So I've just found trying to bring things that I do like and enjoy, and how to incorporate those into our business has been fun. We're about to work with a music festival because it's what's the demographic we want to be with, and who do we want to showcase our product in front of. And so I know those audiences. So, I feel like I'd go after what I know, And
this is a family-owned business, correct?
It is. There's I'm third generation that's in the business, but my grandparents started this back in the 50s. And then there's 7 of us. My grandparents had 4 children. They all grew up in the house where our corporate office is. My mother's office was actually her childhood bedroom, which is pretty fascinating of a tidbit. She shared that office with her twin sisters, and they all worked in the business growing up. And then a couple of them did work in the business in the 80s and 90s, and then they went on to do different things. But my mother stayed on, and kind of was the main growth driver for the business in the 90s and early 2000s. And the 4 second generation kids only had 3 children, and so it's me, my sister, and a cousin. So our family got a little bit smaller. So getting back into it became a little more attractive than having 15 different cousins that all were interested in it. But I always felt, I was born in Franklin, Virginia, and outside of Southampton County, and I always wondered why. Why am I born here? And this is part of me. It's part of my roots. I mean, I left when I was 15 and basically moved back 6 years ago. But I did get out, but I always knew I wanted to come back and get involved in this community.
Where'd you move to?
Well, I went to boarding school, then I went to college, then I moved to Japan. My first job out of college, I was teaching in Japan for a couple of years.
Where in Japan?
Nara Prefecture in Nishi-Yoshino Mura, which is West Yoshino Village.
That's cool.
So like the famous place in Japan where all the cherry trees are. It's called Yoshinoyama, Mount Yoshino. Oh. So I was in a little village about 45 minutes away from Mount Yoshino. Only foreigner in the village, and it was an incredible experience to learn about myself and Japanese culture. And
wow.
Yeah, I went on a business trip there. Like a decade ago. My mom lived in Okinawa for.
Nice.
She graduated high school from there. Her dad was in the Army. I think she lived there for like 2 or 3 years. Incredible place. I mean, it's beautiful. It's super busy though, at least where I was. I was in Shin Yokohama, and then obviously went into Tokyo, which is, I don't know, an hour south from there, something like that. But it's a wild place, very beautiful. Tim, have you been there? I feel like you have.
No,
oh, okay.
No, I never made it to the Far East.
Japan to me is one of the most amazing countries on the planet because it's maintained its cultural identity while developing and like economically, right? So they're a major global world player economically, but they've maintained their historical culture, which is fascinating how they've been able to do that in a very homogenous society.
Reoccurring theme that everyone that has ever been to Japan shares.
Yeah. Well,
I love how orderly it was. Just like even like when you're, at the Mac Shack getting a cheeseburger, as ridiculous as that is. But so did you know that you were going to be in the family business growing up? Was that something that's talked about?
Yeah, that was my question. Like at what age?
Yeah, family businesses aren't like, I feel like they used to be a thing that was like given down and whatever the vernacular is for that. And it doesn't seem like that is the thing anymore, where I think
right.
we're going to have a new cycle of that from a digital perspective. Like, how did that whole thing go down?
So I was never pressured into coming back at all. I just always, I feel like in high school, I was always thinking about it, that it was something that I would be interested in doing. I see a lot of opportunities in this industry and in this region to develop the peanut business and Hubbard Peanut Company. But I was always encouraged to go out and be on my own and work for someone else. And I did that. Mostly it was in education, but for the most part, I always knew that I wanted to get back into this business because you can do so many things in a small business that were exciting to me. So it wasn't, you have to come back and do this, or we're going to have to sell the business, anything like that. There was zero pressure from that standpoint. It was always just something that I kind of wanted to do because I saw opportunity. Now, I lived all over the world. I've been all over the country. Some people would say that Franklin, Virginia might not be the most desirable place to live, but I mean, I also really like being in this community because I'm 45 minutes from Norfolk, an hour to Richmond. I'm 6 hours to New York or 6 hours to Charleston. I've got great rivers to kayak and bike, country roads to bike. There's it's a slow pace of living, but I'm sending product to every state every day. You know what I mean? So I'm constantly have the ability to get out of this community, but I really like being involved in this community.
So when you started, and even as a child, did you work your way up through the ranks, so to speak, in terms of out there in the fields to working your way up to where you're at now?
Well, so it's certainly like right after college and high school, I would do things on the production floor. And I mean, I still, like to this day, last week I was putting oxygen absorbers in the cans, and I'm still shipping product. It's a small business. So, I mean, I'm sweeping floors and mopping floors in the kitchen in the fall as well. It's really just all hands on deck certain times of the year. So we all have many different roles. So I'm continuing to learn who our partners are, and it's a constant education. But yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of different roles within the business, but I kind of came into it from a sales side. I presented opportunities to my family. It's like, I think if we do this and go after these markets, and, I think there's an opportunity. So,
and you have 2 kids now. One is a little bit older, right?
Yeah.
Is that conversation the family aspect of it? Is that starting? How?
Not really. I mean, my son is 14, and I think he, but prior to moving back to Virginia, he was in Nashville, and he really liked the kind of the bigger city vibe, and he's never been interested in it at this point, but that could change and develop. My daughter is 3.5. She sees our brand, our logo, and she says peanuts. She gets that, but she's not. Who knows? You know what I mean? So we'll have to see. I feel like I've got, I'm about to turn 40, so I've got a career ahead of me to kind of see and develop this business to get it to a point where, do we pass it on to someone else? Do we look for an exit strategy? What is that? That's where I feel like part of my next 10, 20 years will be.
Is that something?
How much land? What's that?
Is that something you've done, Tim? Since you, have owned a business for a while, you have kids that are a little bit older. Do you guys have that conversation at all, or is it just like they're going to do their own thing?
Well, I think that right now, the plan is for them to do their own thing. Time will tell. It's so many people that are born and raised in this area. Yeah, just like Marshall, you leave, and then you come back. So who knows what will be in store for them? But Marshall, I'm curious, how much land do you have, and how much can you produce in terms of peanut size?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so my great grandfather had a peanut farm, and the reason this business started was my grandmother was literally handpicking the largest peanuts out of his farm and had a unique recipe. She'd cook, package, and give them to friends. We quickly outgrew that and had to start working with other farmers. And to this day, we no longer are farming peanuts, but we are working with farmers in Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina that partner with the shellers. And we're only purchasing the top 1% of the crop from these farmers. And so it's called a super extra large Virginia type peanut, which is the category of peanuts that Dot Hubbard kind of created. Before Dot, there was not that grade of peanut available. So she was only taking the peanuts that would not go through the filters when they were sizing and grading them out. So she literally took the cream of the crop and used those. So we're only using the top 1%, and there is a limited supply, which is one of the reasons why this is like, if there's a luxury brand of peanuts, we are it, because of that. So there is a supply ceiling to a degree. That is something I do think about, how to diversify if we reach that ceiling, for sure.
Because you have a specific type of client that you're going after right now that's looking for the higher end peanut, I guess?
Well, sure. Like as peanuts go, I really do. We started the specialty peanut category. Now in Virginia, there are probably 25 companies that are doing something similar. So we're proud that we kind of started the trend of specialty peanuts in the state. But yeah, we certainly are going after people that our packaging is really nice, and it's a nice gift. So like you said, you receive peanuts and you like them. It's an easy, healthy, thank you gift to your customers, clients, friends. And so it's something that is representative of Virginia, but it's also a high quality plant-based protein that, is easily gifted.
Do you push that? You guys created that model?
All the time. And the Specialty Food Association, just put an article out that recognized the American Peanut Council recognized Dot Hubbard as the creator of the specialty peanut category, and she just received a Lifetime Achievement Award posthumously for starting this industry.
That was about 18 months ago, right?
Yeah, that was a lot. 2 Junes ago. So
Okay. I remember
about 2
seeing
years
that.
ago. Yeah.
So you use plant-based. I feel like 2019 had a big push for plant-based, using that word. It seems like COVID in 2020 kind of scared that away. Are you seeing as an insider that push is still happening, or is it run its course? I mean, obviously it's plant-based. It's going to always be plant-based to some extent, right? But
I mean, I guess the marketing term of plant-based, possibly, but I don't think that's going anywhere. I mean, as we become more educated about the environmental issues in the meat industry, people look at Impossible and look at some of these other IPOs that are happening in that plant-based space and how they're kind of taking off. I don't think that people are going to go away from a healthy, sustainable protein that is, a lot more.
There was a documentary. What's it called? Tim, do you remember what it's called? The sports one about plant-based.
I don't.
I'm going to figure it out. But there was a documentary that was pretty big on Netflix that hooked me. And I basically haven't had meat in the last, a year and a half. I'm more vegetarian. I've definitely had cheese and things like that. But it was interesting how that kind of, I'd known about these things before, but the way from like a fitness perspective, they talked about how it accelerated individuals was quite interesting to me. You talk about sustainability. You talk about how just certain industries in your world or specific verticals in your world are harder to be sustainable, just with meat products and stuff like that. How are you guys looking at this to be as I don't know, safe and sustainable and whatever the buzzword is to talk about that? But like, how do you make sure that you're playing in the best place possible in that kind of regard?
Well, I think peanuts in general are, I argue that peanuts are the world's most important superfood, right? And so part of it is they're grown on 6 or 7 continents. And so pretty much every region in the world has a domestic supply. So unlike cashews, where we have to import from the tropics, the water usage in peanuts is immensely important. It takes a fifth of the water to grow an ounce of peanuts as it does to grow an ounce of almonds. Almonds are typically grown in drought-stricken regions like California, and it takes 80 gallons to grow an ounce, where it's 5 gallons of water to grow an ounce of peanuts.
And from the meat perspective, it's even crazier.
Oh, well, absolutely. But so peanut hulls and the shells of peanuts, they're made into pellets that are then used to feed animals as well. So the whole part of the peanut, the vines and the hulls of the peanuts are used in food and production. They're made into pellets to feed cattle and pigs and such. So that part is great. The water usage, the every aspect of the peanut is being used. They put nitrogen back into the soil, so you don't have to use as much fertilizer. And it's a great cover crop. So it's yeah,
a lot of options. It's called The Game Changers. Is the documentary.
I'll check that out. But I mean, I love meat. I love seafood. I love all of it. And the more
I used to eat meat 21 meals a day or 21 meals a week. Yeah.
We've all been educated by Netflix and the horrors of the industry, but there's still some folks that are doing really good jobs with it. And if I limit what I'm purchasing personally, and I know I'm buying meat from River Road Farm or whatever, which is right down the road from me. I know it's a grass-raised cattle that was raised sustainably and it's not mass produced. Like those are the choices. I mean, now it's a luxury that I can make that choice. Right.
But I think that's the most important thing, right? So whether it's meat or peanuts or something like that, I think people are just looking for the highest quality of thing that they can do. And I think there's higher ends of that. And I actually, probably don't even think that meat is that bad if you can get it at that right place, like you talked about, where, the mass market adoption of something in a normal store is harder, but we don't need to talk about that at all.
It's a big discussion for sure.
Tim?
Yeah, I'm curious, Marshall, in terms of like how has the industry changed over the course of the years? How is it modernized? I mean, is a lot of the modernization, is that from the byproduct, using that to feed cattle, or just walk us through, the continuous improvement and modernization process of the peanut industry?
Well, I think the farming aspect of it has changed a lot. Obviously, with combines and tractors and pickers, it's made things a lot more efficient and quicker. We did just launch a product with a farmer. We did a single origin peanut with Elisha Barnes, who's a fourth generation peanut farmer, and he still shocks peanuts, which is drying, like putting them on stakes and drying them for 6 weeks in the field, and it's a very labor intensive process. And he said, back in the 60s when he was doing this, he remembers skipping school with everybody in the neighborhood and the community during the peanut harvest just to get peanuts harvested. Now you've got one farmer who can knock out acres a day and get them dug and then picked. So just the labor piece of it has improved to be able to have a lot more growth in the industry from a farming perspective. And then we're continuing to get more information on drought resistance and on things to keep pest out of the crop. That's the technology and science is always getting better for, a higher yield per acre. That's continuing to improve. And then where it's for us, we were a mail order business before the internet, obviously, before credit cards, before FedEx. We were like a direct to consumer business back in the 60s. But the internet has really changed the game now to where anyone can. I mean, we do private labels for companies that we're a co-manufacturer for. They put their name on a can and they can ship it all over the country. And it's, I think the way that you can present your business on the internet has really changed the game for everyone, not just us, but there's obviously always changes. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question the way you want, but I think just farming obviously has evolved, and then the way in which we are shipping product. I mean, I think I can't remember the stat, but it was like I'm not gonna make this up. I need a fact check here, Gavin, but like 4% of food was sold online in 2019, and in 2020 it was like up to 10% or something. I definitely
all the things bought online. It was food.
Well, no, I'm
4%?
saying food. I'm saying food sales increased dramatically in 2020 because people were becoming more comfortable with shopping online and having food shipped to their homes.
Kind of had to in some cases too, right?
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting. Ag tech is definitely something that is becoming more and more prevalent and catching the ears of different VCs, VC firms, and angel investing. So it's interesting to see the advancements that are made.
Oh yeah.
You guys have made some interesting decisions recently. I'm interested in how you kind of figure out what's the next step, right? So someone asked, have you thought about peanut butter? You guys are bringing the chocolate aspect in-house. You guys built a retail component. Like, how do you look at these things and say, we think that's the thing that we should go after, even though it seems to be working without it or with it in this other kind of way? Like, how do you come to the conclusion that hopefully these decisions that you guys are making are the right ones?
I hope so too. Yeah.
Right.
Well, so the expansion, we recently purchased an old Farm Fresh building off of Highway 58 in Franklin. And it was a lot more space than we needed. We had been needing to expand since 07, 08, and we had plans in place to expand and build in Sedley, where our current operation is. But the economy tanked, obviously, in 07, 08. You lose a lot of corporate customers. There was a salmonella issue because of a peanut butter factory that killed some people. So the peanut industry took a big hit, as well as the financial crisis in 07, 08. And so we've known for a while that we've needed to expand, and we've been working with one of our partners to allow us to store some finished goods off site. But the Farm Fresh opportunity was perfect. We'd been continuing to look at plans, and when this happened, we jumped on the opportunity because it cost as much to buy that building as it would have to have built a third or even a fourth of the size of that building. So we took the whole, like the checkout area and the old Starbucks counter, and we turned that into our retail experience and retail space. We opened in September with the Hub's Vine. And then because we had a deli and a bakery, we had a kitchen, we had a ton of equipment that we inherited from Farm Fresh. So it was a very minimal investment for us to have a cafe and a restaurant, you know, in this space. And so now we've got about a 7,000 foot retail space with games. Like there's a shuffleboard and battleship and cornhole, little putting area. And then just a great place for my daughter can go and get an ice cream cone. I can get a craft beer, a bottle of wine, and we can chill together and hang out. But the back end of that space, what we really needed was more shipping and warehousing. And so that we moved into that and shipped out of there this fall for the first time, which was great. A lot more space, a lot more room. And then we turned the old meat department and the old beer cooler, which was perfect because it was basically a large refrigerator. And we're going to put that and transform that into our enrobing operation, which is what you mentioned as far as the chocolate piece. So we're going to be kind of vertically integrating and bringing chocolate manufacturing back to Virginia and to our own facility here this fall. And so, you know, there's been a lot of things that we knew that we needed to expand shipping, warehousing, and then we wanted to expand production because of the opportunity of what it was costing us to ship product to other locations and bring it back was pretty high. So we feel like we can be of service to this community and other Virginia suppliers to utilize our chocolate equipment now.
Is that something that you guys start saving for years before? Is that something that you guys, not to get into crazy financials or something like that, but like, is it something you just get a loan for? Is it something that you saved for? How do you financially figure out or put in the financial aspect of that into the decision making?
Well, sure. I mean, you know, we've been fortunate to be a profitable company, and so we can retain some of our earnings. And then also because we've been a profitable, financially stable company, we were able to get good loans on equipments and on the building that we purchased. So we did take out loans, but we retained some earnings to put into that as well. So our family has invested, so to speak, some of our profits into our expansion, as well as just, you know, working with a bank on some pretty favorable rates, which has been great.
Very cool.
Something like that. I mean, I'm curious of what your thoughts are. I mean, farmers just historically are just super gritty. And I mean, you're tough in the sense of you have to prepare for droughts and bad weather or a low yielding crop season, whatever the case is. And no one's been really there to bail you out. Now we have 2020, you know, and we're printing money like never before to bail everybody out. What's your take on that in terms of what would you tell Main Street or businesses to avoid something like that in the future?
Ooh, that's a big one. I don't know. You touched on a lot of things there, but agriculture is always going to have ups and downs, especially the peanuts, right, are harvested in the middle of hurricane season on the North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia coast. So we always are dealing with fluctuations in price and supply. That piece of it is challenging. As far as government intervention on bailing businesses out, it's been challenging from an employment and production standpoint at times to keep everybody working, as well as letting I got to be careful. I don't understand how to answer this really.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily even asking you to say that other people are doing anything. I'm just, you know, but you all have to be really careful and prepare for those downside moments. Whereas,
sure,
the rest of the world is.
Well, yeah, you have your hurricane moment, and that hurricane moment, it literally is a hurricane where in some places, I guess, FEMA can come in to some extent and give you some cash for that. I don't know. I guess that's what you're saying, Tim. It's like, how do you prepare for the hurricane-like thing?
You guys pretty much, hey man, okay, it's a terrible thing that with COVID, but you guys on the other hand are kind of like, hold my beer. We deal with this kind of stuff all the time. And
sure. Well, yeah. agriculture is always going to have its challenges, like I was saying with the hurricanes. But I mean, we've been fortunate that there's always been a supply of peanuts. If there's stress there every fall, every harvest, and then there's for us, that's a different kind of stress because we're building inventory in July, August, September with the hopes of selling it in November, December based on historical data. And so every fall is very stressful for us because you're as a very seasonal gift-oriented business, we're putting a lot of eggs in the basket that we're gonna sell product in November, December. Is hopefully they're peanuts to produce. So we're typically like wine. Like we'll get this year's crop that's about to go in the ground. We'll start cooking. They'll harvest it in the fall of 21, and we'll start cooking that the following year. So if we have a really bad hurricane season this fall, that will really be impactful on what happens next year for us. So it's stressful. There are a lot of, I mean, I think everybody has issues to deal with, but,
Do you look at because we are in kind of a seasonal style of business, if you look at the region as a whole, do you look at other industries completely different than yours and say, here's how they're handling to be a seasonal business? Or how do you, as kind of the sales and marketing guy at a business, say, hey, here's what other seasonal businesses are doing too, and here's maybe something that we can implement? How do you look at that?
I look at more on how can we make our business less seasonal. And so how do we create other holidays, other events, or other partnerships with folks that are busier in the spring, so that's part of my strategy, is looking at how do we become less of a seasonal business, because ideally we've got a year-round part-time crew that is working full-time, basically July through December, and then they're working part-time January through July. So I want to get us to a point where we're able to employ them year round. And so that'd be good for a lot of different reasons. So that my goal is to just grow our sales off season.
I think about like a Busch Gardens in that kind of situation where they had like 5 months a year, and now they figured out, okay, here we can be a subscription company, and there's some other holidays in there that we can actually be making money off of. We don't have to be at full capacity the same way that we were, but we can actually still be in business and be rolling in cash too. So
we made a conscious effort to be a little more diversified in our store count. About 20 so years ago, we started doing a little more wholesale business. So we worked with grocery stores like Wegmans and the Fresh Market, and other regional chains around the country that really help offset some of our downtime in the winter months. And those businesses are continuing to grow, and I think that's really helped, just diversifying. It's great. We're mostly a direct consumer business and have been, but having more partners that are open year round, that are selling our product for us has been really helpful as well. And so we continue to look for avenues like that make sense for our brand.
Yeah, and part of that, I would like to hear from the social aspect of what you all are doing. Is what are the different things that you are doing to connect with the consumer?
Well, so part of our big strategy sessions that we've just completed, it was, let's get this expansion underway. Let's get the website up and running. Let's get the infrastructure up in place for growth. And the next arm of that, we've always been very socially conscious in our own community. But part of the next strategy approach is how do we articulate that message better to be synonymous with Hubbs Peanuts, is to be a social responsible company. And so we're starting to work with our local food bank that just moved into Franklin, and we're gonna hopefully develop that partnership to where they become a major player for us as far as a corporate social arm, and we want to be able to articulate that message to our consumers. We've been working with Project Peanut Butter, which is an organization that works with severely malnourished children in Malawi and other parts of the world. That was started by a pediatrician named Dr. Mark Maneri, and he used a ready-to-use therapeutic food formula, which is all peanut-based. And it's been a really cool project because it started in Malawi, and he's using Malawian peanut farmers and he's supplying the factories in Malawi that are employed by Malawian workers. And then the RUTFs, the food that is being made, is going to the children in Malawi. So it's something that everybody really buys into. And so that's on the international stage. And then the domestic stage is, I think we really want to try to develop this relationship that we've begun with the food bank. It's still in its inception. We're in the process of working through that. But I'm excited to kind of launch that aspect of our business to really articulate that message better. From a social standpoint.
Is it difficult getting these companies? You say you're basically a consumer-based business, but you do have a lot of business relationships. Is it easy or difficult, or what is it like to try and get in front of a company to say, hey, like we want this thing to happen, and whatever that's from a social perspective or just a business perspective? Is that something that's, how do you get someone on the phone?
Oh, well, it's a lot of cold call, a lot of voicemails, a lot of unanswered emails, a lot of product samples going out, just a lot of persistence and following up. A lot of, there's only so many regional stores in the country that I want to be in. I feel like we're a specialty product. So not every market is a specialty market. But so, yeah, it's just the grind of continuing to be persistent with what you want. You're not going to get it all, right? Some things. I've worked 5-6 years on particular accounts, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're ready. I'm like, okay, great. It's tough.
So I don't know this to be true or not, but like, you're not in like a Walmart type of thing.
We are not in Walmart. I always investigate, is that a platform, Walmart.com, that I would like to be in? We are now in Food Lion in Virginia on the local rack. And so Food Lion has never been that kind of higher end market like the Fresh Market or a Wegmans. But the way I see that is, as Food Lion trying to improve their offering and their game, right? And so by offering our product, it's not for me, that's not like a downgrade. It's like, they're trying to up their game a little bit. And so we're part of that brand building that they're doing.
The reason I thought of that is because, growing up, I remember something like an And One or like a Reebok as like a merchandise perspective from an athletic gear. Those were all companies that were like super high end, but now they're both in Walmarts. And it seemed like they made a decision at some point to have their athletic gear in a Walmart, and I don't know why they're in that. What made them make that decision?
Volume,
numbers, but like,
yeah.
What when you're looking at a company and you're looking at a marketplace like a Walmart or something like that, and you kind of you write them off for now, because they don't seem to be the right fit. How do you then re-engage that conversation? What are you looking for to say, hey, this might be the right fit now, right? Because you said you're at a Wegmans, a Whole Foods, so those are the specialty stores then. But like with this Food Lions perspective, how did you start saying, hey, like maybe this is something that we should do? Because I think a lot of people have a very target customer, and that's very, very important. But then never forget about these other people over here. How do you start to recognize maybe this thing over here is what we want to start looking at again?
Yeah, well, I think just looking at the trends, and I think Food Lion is a great example of that. I think Food Lion has made a conscious effort to buy more local products and to showcase those products. And so, and they're a North Carolina-based company. Most our peanuts are grown in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. It makes sense that they're focusing on a higher quality peanut than a Georgia Runner or something else that they've been selling. So I think that if you're just paying attention to how they're trying to change their brand and the perception of their brand a little bit, that was a good example of a company that we wouldn't necessarily go after, but when they try to bring a program like that into place, we wanted to be the peanut that was offered, or one of so yeah, I'm always going to go after more of the direct consumer piece. I think the corporate customer side of it, we have it's a really nice package. Like we've got a box that you open and there's a gift card in there, and we personalize all these gift cards, and it takes a lot of labor and time, but every one of them, it has a note. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Zach, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And then you get a beautiful can, with a nice key. And so there's this like feel to it that is luxurious. And I think that's our main customer and our main brand. But then the 12-ounce cans and the smaller can sizes, that kind of gives people a taste. But like, this is kind of like our bread and butter is like, it's a luxurious peanut,
Have you all got into the whole different flavors?
Yeah.
Or do you guys say stick to straight peanuts?
We do straight peanuts, but I would bet that most everyone in the industry's number one seller is a salted peanut.
Mm-hmm.
It's just classic. It goes with everything. We have 6 or 7 flavors, and I think we hit most of the flavor profiles. We've got a salty, we've got a sweet, we've got a spicy, we have an earthy, we got a chocolate, right? And so we don't do every single season under the sun because there's a lot of inventory for those seasonings, the food safety programs that are affected by adding additional ingredients, the labeling, the can inventory, because we have lithograph cans, so it's printed metal and it's a kind of a nicer feel. So inventory and all of those different things is a challenge. I like different seasonings, but if I want to eat dill pickles, I eat dill pickles. I don't know. I'm a believer in a classic salted peanut or the standard stuff for me.
Interesting. So you talked about packaging a little bit. I just happen to have this on my desk. So I got this bike computer a couple weeks ago, and the packaging on this is actually really nice, right? At the end of the day, I don't care about the packaging, but like they put in a lot more effort into it. So it's got like this crazy, I guess a magnet right here that opens, and it reminds me of like the Apple packaging, right? The Apple packaging is really nice compared to some of the other packaging out there. What kind of effort did you guys have to have like branding and packaging that isn't about the thing that's inside it, but it is about the thing that's inside of it? Because it is that what makes it luxurious? Obviously not. That's not what it makes it luxurious, but like, what is it about the packaging that's so important than just not putting it in a bag and calling it a day?
Yeah, I think it's part of your brand and the attention to detail. It's very Japanese, and the environmental side of me, sometimes there's a lot of waste in packaging, but for us, like this box is also our shipping box, right? So if you were going to ship 1 can of peanuts to someone, this is your shipper, right? So that's not waste. And then it comes, and this is a reusable tin. You can put pens or whatever you want in it. I think there's like Apple is a great example. I mean, it's just the attention to detail. It's a simplicity, a simple elegance about it. And
how many times have you gotten a package when you didn't need the box to be there? I'm like, geez, like this is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if you're selecting only the top 1% of the peanuts, then I think that it's important to have the brand and packaging to go with it.
Yeah, and I agree. And like I said, but like this is a shipping box, so it works. It's part of or you buy it and give it as a gift and wrap it, and it's nice, and it's. So there could be some waste, but
Gavin figured that out. U.S. food and beverage retail e-commerce sales were expected to total $24 billion in 2020, surpassed at $38 billion in 23, which is a 17.3% increase, I guess, in those years. When did you guys start to do things online? And is that really increasing? And are you seeing the growth of online happening the same way that you are as a consumer, or where is it in that kind of stuff?
Oh, we absolutely are. I mean, we were sending out our catalog, and we had a phone center. We still have a phone center where people will call in, and I think our customer service aspect is part of our brand as well. You can still call and order and talk to a person and have something shipped out the same day pretty quickly. But what I've noticed is we're having a lot more web traffic than we're having phone traffic, even during the season. Obviously, it's open 24 hours a day. Our call center is a standard 9 to 5, but the trend continues to go up on the e-commerce side, which is why we wanted to put a new website out, and I think make it a little bit of an easier path to purchase for our customers, or for new customers to give a guest checkout option, to give a PayPal option, to give any way to make it a little bit easier to convert. I think made a lot of sense. So we put a lot of time and energy into developing this new website. The hard part was the whole software system on the back end that goes with that from as a manufacturer as well. So it took a while to do all of that, but we're excited about the new site. And I think that's another thing that's kind of worth noting. We're a manufacturer as well as a brand. A lot of these food companies that you're seeing all over the shelf, it's their sales and marketing folks, and they all have co-manufacturers. We are still cooking these peanuts in our house with our recipe the same way we did in the 50s. And so it's grown, and we're cooking more pounds, but we're still the ones doing it. And it's not being outsourced. And so we're proud of that piece of it. And I think that's unique to a lot of CPG brands.
Where's the best place for our viewers to purchase your peanuts?
Well, hubspeanuts.com in Norfolk. But in Norfolk, we do have a few other partners. We're at Wegmans and at Fresh Market and Food Lions in Norfolk area. We're also the signature brand for Taste Unlimited. So their 20-ounce signature can of peanuts, that's something that we're doing for them. And we're the Wegmans private label brand as well. Yeah,
I'm curious. I kicked myself. I was just in Wegmans over the weekend and missed out on the opportunity to get some of your peanuts. How did you get that account?
Well, this is the best, easiest sales job ever, right? So Danny Wegman was family in Wegmans, and he was on his jet, and a buddy came on the plane and gave him a can of peanuts. He started eating them on the ride and said, "Oh my God, these are the peanuts that I want to have in our store." And then like a week later, Wegmans is calling us and saying, "Hey, Danny Wegmans wants your peanut to be the private label brand." So that's great, right? It doesn't get easier than that.
Wow.
And a lot of our wholesale markets are that way. They've come to us, and there's been some fortunate because I think we do have the product that's out there that's a high quality product, but
are they labeled as Hubs in that case, or are they labeled as Wegmans?
So we're at Wegmans. There's two. We've got Hubs brand and our Sweet Heat, our Honey Kiss, and our Sea Salt and Cracked Pepper. And then the signature, the food you feel good about Wegmans brand on their 20-ounce salted and their 20-ounce chocolate and their 1.5-ounce snack pack. So those are Wegmans brands that don't have our name on them, but they're okay with it. I mean, you'll still see it still has the little key and the Peanut Man on there. So you'll recognize us that way if you know us.
Is Hubs at the Virginia Beach Wegmans?
Yes.
Awesome.
Is that an easy decision to make as a business? Like, hey, like we're gonna kind of white label this thing, or private label
with the right partner. I enjoy co-branding if it's a company that I like Orvis, for example. Orvis is a fly fishing apparel company. We have a co-branded label with them. I think they have a very similar customer base that we have. The demographic is right. Like that's for me, that's a no-brainer. I'm happy to put my name on a company that I respect and like and has a similar demographic. If it's not, then yeah, you say no, right? Like that, you do have the ability to turn folks down.
Do you all like in terms of like partnerships? Do you participate in the school fundraiser thing as well?
We do. We don't have as robust of a program and materials that some I've seen out there, but we do a lot of fundraisers for schools, for Ruritan clubs, for Kiwanis clubs, for health, hospitals. We definitely do fundraisers.
And is to participate in something like that, is all that on the website, I would assume?
It is. Well, it is. And you just send me a message and say, "Hey, we're interested in doing a fundraiser." If you have a 501c3, it's pretty simple. You get wholesale, and then you charge basically what you would like.
From a regional perspective, when you tell someone where you're from, does that matter? Like this part of the area where the Virginia peanut, like how does that get incorporated into stuff? I mean, are people looking for peanuts from Iowa? Like, do they care about that? Like, I don't know that there are.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Like, I mean, like specifically like a Texas Roadhouse or a Five Guys. Where do they source their peanuts for their? Because
all their potatoes are from Idaho. But
right.
Yeah, and well, they're getting Virginia type peanuts as well. Virginia is. There's certainly when Amadeo Obasi moved to Virginia or in the early 1900s, he really brought planters and had a partnership with Birdsong, the shelling company in Suffolk. I think they really started to put their stamp on Virginia as a destination and type of peanut. Georgia still currently grows more acres of peanuts than Virginia does, but back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, Southampton County, Virginia, where we're located, was the #1 peanut producing county in the country. I think the Japanese are very like, this place is famous for, where I was from was famous for kaki, which is persimmons in Japan. So every region has something that it's famous for, and the Japanese celebrate that a lot differently than we do. You mentioned Idaho. There's a few products that we're like, oh yeah, like Napa Valley cabs are great, or Oregon Pinots, or oysters from this part of Maine or the Eastern Shore, or whatever. We do it, but we don't do it as elegantly as the Japanese do. But for us, the peanuts, I am super proud of this being the roots of the best peanuts in the world. I said they're grown on 6 or 7 continents, but the best soil in the world is Tidewater, Virginia, without a doubt, for growing super extra large Virginia type peanuts. And it's something that we're certainly very proud of.
I'm sorry, Zach, has the planters footprint that has decreased recently, hasn't it?
They recently sold. Yeah, I mean that's changed hands a few times for sure with large food companies.
Gosh, I always thought the planters would be a parent company for in the peanut industry. It's interesting.
So just having all those other businesses that are similar, that's a good thing for the area.
I would like, it's competitive, but I think it is a good thing for the area. And I would like to, over the next few years, develop a little more of a collaboration with our partners. Like the Salty Southern Trail is something that there's been a tourism initiative to try to highlight that we've got great peanuts and hams. It's definitely not as sexy as wine trails, but if we could figure out a way to work together and make it a destination and offer something other than peanuts. Peanuts go great with wine and beer and good food. I think peanuts are an essential part to every party, right? It's the first part of the party. So let's start with a handful of peanuts and you're going to finish with a cake or whatever it may be. But peanuts need to be part of every single party. And if we can figure out how to use our region and work together.
I would love to have that at every craft brewery, just to start.
Yeah, we've partnered with Nanceman Brewing in Suffolk, and they're doing a Hub's Peanut Butter Brown Ale, which is a cool like branding on a craft beer, which is cool.
Is that conversation not happening in the same kind of way? So our area historically is known as military tourism ports, right? Mm-hmm. So and you said, nuts aren't as sexy as some of the other things. Is that just it? Or because to me, the amount of business and the amount of employment that is being housed in an industry around peanuts is amazing. Yet that story isn't being pushed. And another example is you just see something like a homes.com, which was home based in downtown Norfolk. I think they were acquired by CoStar for $157 million. That story isn't being told really either. You got something like a Smithfield Foods. They've done a good job of pushing something like that and kind of having the Smithfield ham. But why aren't the peanuts, in your observation, why aren't peanuts getting the same kind of movements that some of these other things are, even though they employ and are eaten and consumed all across the country and the world?
I think there is some aspect of the competitive nature of all of our businesses, but that's what I think we have an opportunity to really showcase our region. I tell people all the time, we are the Napa Valley of peanuts in this area. So that is something that we need to work hard to achieve. People know us. I mean, I was doing an English or a Spanish class when I was in Guatemala, and we were looking at a picture book, and you have the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and you have the Empire State Building in New York, but right here in Southampton County, Suffolk area, there was a picture of a peanut, and so it's it's known, but how do we do a better job of articulating that message to get people here? And we have to offer, now we've got more retail spaces than we've had before, like Highway 58, where we're located now. now there are more options for people to come. We're right off of the exit, and it's a little bit easier now to have people stop in that are traveling to the beach from 95. So, and it's just something I think we're all starting to understand, that we need to do a better job on collaborating that message. That's something I'm working on. I think
is there still a peanut festival in Suffolk?
There is, but it's not really as peanut centric. It's kind of like a little fair where you go and ride rides and eat cotton candy. It's not really as peanut festival as it could be. It could be high. It could be redone. It could be rebranded a little bit, maybe. And they do a great job. I think there could be other ways to showcase that, though.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I hear Suffolk Peanut Festival powered by Hub's Peanuts, but that's just me.
Ooh.
No, I mean, I definitely think there's an aspect there that, from a branding perspective, that is missing. That could be a huge win. That you
I mean, because doesn't like Pungo for their strawberry festival, they bring in like lots, like 100,000 people over the course of a week. Something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you get good food, good music, good booze. It's on, right?
Sounds great. Tim?
Yeah. No, I'm just waiting for the festival to start.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't talked about today, Marshall, that you want to?
I think we've covered a lot. I've stumbled through what I can stumble through.
No, I mean, it was great. And one of the questions that Zack and I talk a lot about on this show is like, what is this region known for? And it's just like, man, now after talking to you, it's like, it's something that that could be re-energized and reintroduced and to get people back to having it on the forefront of their mind. I mean, I think about when family or friends come to visit, one of the things that they talk about is, hey, I want to get some Virginia peanuts. So, I think that as a region, we can do a lot better job bringing that into the forefront of people in the area.
For sure. I mean, like I said, peanuts are part of the party, but an essential part you have the peanuts and you have the oysters and you have your ham, there's and the seafood obviously is incredible around here. I don't think we get the credit that we need as a culinary gem in the country. Like I love Charleston's got a great reputation for food. So does New Orleans, right? New York obviously is like the mismatch of everything in the world, but our regional delicacies are as good as it gets anywhere. The fact that we have, the peanuts, the oysters, the ham, the seafood, and then we have Virginia wine, right? So we've got everything right here in Virginia to really like hone in on being a culinary destination. And we have to all work together to figure out how to do that. And it's because to me, it's a no brainer. Like Tidewater, Virginia, it's the home of this country, and we're not celebrated the way we should be.
And don't forget the Mexican white sauce.
Yeah.
I had to. I mean, people love
it. I mean, you summed everything up though. Work together. The execution has always been the tricky part.
Of course.
Marshall, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting. Learned a lot. Excited to see you guys continue to grow, and we will chat soon. Thank you guys for watching. Tim, see you soon. Marshall, the peanut capital of the world, right here.
It is.
Love it.
Who
Marshall,
knew?
everyone, thanks for watching. See you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Come on, guys.
Cheers.